everybody, I am Tiffany, and today I am doing another book review. Whoop whoop, finish another, getting through my TBR. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to be doing this one. I've hauled this book, so it is my book haul video. You can check it out. I've been good about that. The books I've hauled, I've been reading. I'm really excited to be reading this book. It's the first book in a series. I had mentioned earlier I was a little bit hesitant to start it just because I heard the first book was amazing, but then the second and third book didn't live up to the par that it needed to live up to. But I decided I'm going to give it a chance and give it my own opinions. And then also, Elisa also said that it was a really awesome book, so I just needed to give it a shot and read it. This is a sci-fi novel, and I hadn't read a full-on sci-fi novel in a little while. I mean, it's young adult sci-fi, but it doesn't really have any fantasy elements included, because usually my books have fantasy elements included with the sci-fi, and this is just straight out sci-fi. And the book that I am reviewing today is The Fifth Wave. Yeah, this came out a really long time ago. It is written by Rick Yancey. This overall was a really good book. I call it a puzzle / thinking book. You don't know everything right off the bat. You have no idea really what's happening, and you just kind of figure it out as you go along. You get little backstory hints here and there, and then eventually it all comes together. And then you're saying, oh, this makes sense, and then it blows your mind in the process. I really like books like that. I think sometimes people might get irritated by those books because it can be confusing sometimes. For me, this book wasn't really confusing. There's little aspects here and there just at the beginning, but once you got the flow of the book, it was fine. There are switching perspectives in there. At first, when I first was reading it, I was really confused about whose perspective I was on. It was just the first couple of times. For those of you who want statistics, the first book got a 4.10 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave it a 4-star rating myself. There were little elements here and there, again, that kind of confused me, that didn't let me give it the 5-star rating. It definitely wasn't a perfect book, but it was still a really fun ride. It's a common plot, but it has its own spin to it, and it kept me interested throughout this entire book. I definitely think you should read it and give it a shot. It goes pretty fast, too. You have a lot of chapters in there, but they kind of separate it into different parts in the book. I really enjoyed it. If you're a big sci-fi person, definitely go read this. It follows really this girl named Cassie. She's in a post-apocalyptic world. This world has been taken over by aliens. It's really intriguing. It's not a very uplifting book, I will say that. There's nothing really super lighthearted about it. It does have its funny moments. It's really weird. I've read contemporary books that have a comedic element to it, and they don't make me laugh as much. But when I read a fantasy or dystopia or sci-fi book and there's this little bit of humor, I laugh hysterically. Maybe because it's so serious that it just shocks me that there would be this funny moment in there. Definitely Cassie is probably my favorite character, which is good because she's the main character in this book. I'm excited to read the rest of the series. I have no idea how it's going to be. I'm a little bit worried, but I'm also really excited. The more you go in blind to this book is actually the better. Now I know there is a movie for The Fifth Wave out there. I made the executive decision to not watch the movie for 2 reasons. One is because I know the movie isn't good, so I'm really hesitant to watch it and compare it to the book because I don't want to put myself through that movie if it sucks. Second reason is because with books, I have to read so many that they can get blurred sometimes if I forget to do a book review. That's my problem with movies, is that I watch so many movies that I forget sometimes what happened in some of them, so I can't do a review fast enough. Because of that, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and do a book review on this. So I'm not saying I will never watch this movie. I might in the future and do a compare and contrast, but I'm more inclined to do that when I know the movie's decent. That's really all I can tell you without spoiling you, so I suggest you non-spoilery people, you go ahead and leave. Thank you for joining me. Go read The Fifth Wave yourself and gather your thoughts, and then come back and join me and we can discuss and have fun together. Don't let aliens take over Earth while you're reading, okay? Okay. Goodbye, non-spoilery people. Goodbye. This book, like I said, was so good. Cassie, definitely my favorite character overall. I really, really liked her perspective. It was witty and funny and just had these little quirky moments because you're dealing with a teenager who usually when you're going through all of this teenager high school drama, you're going through alien drama, which is 10 times worse. So having still that mind of that teenager a little bit was really, really funny throughout, especially with Evan and her saying, this guy would never look at me before the alien apocalypse happened. It was a little confusing at first when they first switched perspectives because they did Cassie and then I didn't realize there was multiple perspectives in here. I was basing it off a little bit on the previews for the movie. In the movie, they don't really show Ben Parrish. I have to look back at the trailers and really see, but I just remember seeing Chloe Grace Moretz and the guy who plays Evan Walker. And I knew about Sam, her brother, because that was in the trailer too. I didn't know that the other perspective was going to be a completely different aspect of it. I thought it was going to be Evan Walker. And then all of a sudden they said Ben, and then I realized, okay, it's not Evan Walker, but then my brain still didn't recognize that it was Ben Parrish, her crush from high school. When it finally hit me, I was laughing hysterically that he was still alive. And then she's talking about how she loved Ben Parrish and wished she had said something before he died. And then it confused me a little bit again because all of a sudden it switched from first person narrative to third person when it went to Evan's perspective for a couple seconds. And it kind of registered in my head what was going to happen before it actually did, because the silencer doesn't let her get away, and I'm thinking, this is weird, but the silencer is probably going to become important. And she almost died, and then Evan Walker ended up taking her in and helping her. I had my suspicions throughout. That was the thing about this book, is that a lot of the bad stuff and the twists you kind of knew about already, but it added this very unnerving quality to it. You don't completely get that Evan might be a silencer, but you have hints of it. And for me, it finally confirmed it when he talked about reading her diary, which I thought was interesting that they made the perspective of Cassie writing in her diary. I don't know where she's located at the end of this book, but apparently she could write all this down in her diary. That's some mad diary writing time. I don't know how you found the time in an alien apocalypse, but good for you, Cassie. Once he said he read her diary, a light bulb went off in my head. I was just, oh my gosh, no! I was so upset. But I liked Evan. But at the same time, I was really creeped out because I didn't know what he was going to do. And I wanted Cassie to get away. And this whole time then, you're feeling really creeped out and unnerved by it because you think he cares about her maybe, but then you remember he's a silencer and he shot her and was trying to kill her. And now he kind of has her captive and gives her no choice. And then when Cassie finally finds out, you're saying thank the Lord for it. But then, when she wants to leave him, you don't really want her to leave him. You feel him. You're saying, no, don't leave Evan. And he was just interesting, and I didn't want Evan to leave, but I really thought he was going to die. Because Ben Parrish is alive, and that's been her dream soulmate forever. So it would make sense if Evan died, and she gets with Ben Parrish. But oh, I was so mad. And that's what the fifth wave did to you the whole time, is that you were clued into something really bad is happening here. And it might not be 100% confirmed until later on, but you knew something bad was happening. To me, it's more about making you feel unnerved and realizing that these people that you're rooting for are in a bad situation and they don't realize it. Having Cassie under Evan until you really get to see that he cares, you're freaked out because you kind of know what he's doing. Not 100% because you're only seeing it from Cassie's perspective, but you know what's going on. And then the same happens with Ben Parrish. You get the whole scene with Cassie and her father dying and how the aliens came and were silencers and made the whole place where they were staying completely explode and turn into nothing. And you hear about Vosh, and then you meet Ben, and Vosh is talking to him. And I will admit, part of me, because I am gullible, maybe thought maybe Vosh isn't a bad guy and he needed to destroy it, but the I thing kept popping into my head saying they don't have that military content. So you have this whole element then, because you met Vosh in a previous scene with Cassie, you know that Ben is training to help the aliens. And the whole time you're freaking out because you're slowly realizing what their plan is. And it's scary. And then you're finding out finally, piece by piece, that their whole plan is they're going to have humans kill other humans, and they'll have no idea, and they'll think that they're killing the aliens until there's nothing left. And that plan is genius for aliens, okay? It's genius, but it's scary. It was a really interesting vibe, especially with Ben Parrish. There are moments where you're just as confused as he is and trying to figure it out, but then there's times where you know more than he does. And you just want to scream at Ben Parrish to get out of that stupid camp. And then on top of that, you have Sammy, that adorable little kid. I love that kid so much. You have that whole thing where he's in it now. So that adds an element, especially once Ben gets out with the others, but Nugget is still there, and they have to go back for him. I was afraid they were just going to leave him, and I was trying to call out to the book saying, don't leave Nugget, because he's too cute, and Cassie needs to save him and everything. I can see how people get annoyed because you kind of figure out the twist before everybody else in the book figures out the twist, but at the same time, it has this unnerving feeling throughout because of that. I don't know what's going to happen love story-wise. I did like that there is a love story quality in there, but again, it's not the main focus of the entire book. It's about surviving and getting Sammy more than anything. When Evan got hurt and Cassie had to help get the shrapnel, he was naked in the bottom half, I was laughing so hard. Just her comments throughout were absolutely hilarious, and just the sense of this is not how I envisioned this going. I was dying of laughter. But I do like the romance. I'm just not sure how it's going to be because Evan is a silencer, but he does kind of sacrifice himself at the end of the book, but I don't know if he's actually dead or not. And I don't want him to be dead. I really like Evan. By the end of it, I really liked him. I can see it being that she's meant to be with Ben Parrish. I can see it, Evan doesn't come in the second book until the end, and then her and Ben Parrish have something, and then uh-oh, it's a love triangle all over again. I just feel like something is going to happen with Ben and her first. A kiss or something before Evan comes back in the picture, if he is going to come back in the picture. If he doesn't, I'm going to be mad. I didn't think he actually came to the base though. That confused me at first too. Cassie's in the ducts. She hears these people talking, saying that they need to worry about this girl and then this other guy who killed these other 3 people. And she automatically realizes that it's Evan. For me, I didn't automatically think that. I thought that was Ben. Evan actually did end up being there. I just didn't think that. I'm still trying to figure out the aliens more so. It's really interesting. I really appreciated that these aliens are really different because most of the times they are these extraterrestrial things. And they are that in this book, but they're humans basically. They hide out in humans, so you have no idea who's who in this world. And I think one of the most powerful scenes at the very beginning of the book is Cassie in that scene with the crucifix soldier. That was really impactful, and it really let you know this is not your happy-go-lucky world. When you first see the crucifix soldier, your book instinct is saying it's a new character, she's going to help him heal, and they're going to get along. But instead, she ends up shooting him as he's pulling out a cross. That's powerful. That's saying this is not going to be your book where everybody survives. Don't get me started on my characters being killed off. I've had enough of those because fantasy and sci-fi people love to do that. Just punches you in the gut, man. I'm excited to see where in the world the series goes. It's open-ended with stuff. I'm not sure what's going to happen. That's really all I have to say about this book, though. I thought it was great. I love the puzzle quality to it and just trying to figure everything out as you go along and being a little lost with the characters, but still having that effect of knowing stuff before they do and feeling really creeped out by knowing the stuff that they don't. I would love to hear more perspectives. We better get an Evan perspective. I would love an Evan perspective, because we barely got an Evan perspective. I need an Evan perspective. Thank you so much for joining me today. Read this book if you haven't read it. It's really, really good. I think you'll really enjoy it. If you're a big sci-fi fan, definitely read this. It's a great read. If you have any other book or movie recommendations, you can always leave them in the comments below. Let me know. I love hearing your suggestions. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, whatever time of the day you're watching this, and don't forget to be awesome. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye!